My name is Mrs. Adelaide Keme. My despair has plunged me into an endless abyss. My story is a field of trouble. I'll give you a portrait of it, but first, please subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification button. You can make videos like this using the software in the description. Do not forget to share us your testimonial. If you want to, share it at holyholy701@gmail.com. The greatest happiness of a woman is to give birth. It is her primary mission. So she must procreate and thus participate in creation. This is the idea that I had. This is what constituted my main motivation. If God had made me born a woman, it was precisely for this reason. Already at a very small age, I dreamed of being mature and of managing the problems of grown-ups. I always put myself in the shoes of a young bygone woman and played the part at home. My mother was always surprised at the level of maturity I had. I didn't mingle too much with children my age. I was always in the company of grown-ups, or at least I would stalk in till they had no choice but to let me in. I gave great speeches and tackled questions that were a little above my age. That's how I was nicknamed Little Lady. My father didn't have any problem, as he reassured himself that I was following my studies well, because for him, a woman is not just for cleaning, but she is an actress in the society. She is a link important for development. This is also the reason why he had insisted that mom continued her studies even after their marriage and got a job. Something that was done. My mother was therefore not just a model of a simple housewife. Hence, the astonishment of my relatives when my objective was to be a housewife. But even if the apple does not fall very far away from the tree, it doesn't hang there, however. So I dropped out and I was more determined than ever to have the most perfect home. The accounting studies that my father wanted for me never bore fruit because I didn't really have the heart for it. My first objective when I reached the age of maturity was to find me someone or to be spotted by a potential presenters. I managed to always be very flirtatious. I took care of myself in order to attract attention in the society. It is very frowned upon to be a woman to take the first step. I had to wait. My waiting became endless for me. I was fed up that when I had an idea. Find the perfect and serious suitor. There is only one place, the church. So I headed for the church. Are you sure about your plan? I think you're already starting to go crazy. It's the most selfish project I've ever heard. What do you advise me, Mina? Stand here twiddling my thumbs and risk falling into the arms of an upstart? No. I'm going to find a pious man who will know how to maintain a woman, and this in church. You are my best friend and you should support me. But as always, you have to bring me back. Okay, madam. Sorry for bringing you back to your senses, but I will always do it as long as you have me by your side. You will have to deal with it. I have waited so long a time for this moment when you will finally make the decision to follow Christ and let him be the master of your life. And today, you finally decide to set foot in church, but just for selfish ends. That's exactly what it is. Selfish. Act to use the house of God to further your interests, but at the same time, I have to say I'm glad because at least maybe my prayers will be highlighted. Okay, if you are done with your long speeches, can we go? I have to take the best place in church to be spotted. Adelaide, you are so unbelievable. So I had entered the church for the first time. I don't know, but the atmosphere there was so different. The sermons, the moments of worship, it was really beautiful. Careful, Ade, you didn't come here to be asleep. Be focused. I told myself to resist the call. As soon as the service was over, I rushed outside to paint myself in front of the temple and see everyone who was coming out. Can we go home now? Wait a little longer. It was like this very Sunday, but I had never fished anything. Finally, it's no use coming here. I'll go back to my old life. After this decision, I was contacted by a member of the parish. He wanted a Christian mother to represent his brand. So by seeing my appearance, I seemed to be the perfect model. I was rather flattered, even if deep down, I was not really Christian. I had accepted with joy, and this is how we started the project. It was so exciting that I didn't want to stop, especially since he was so charming and so handsome. He had the most respectable demeanor. It decided clergymen are my type. What more could you ask for? I said to myself. Later we were chatting away from the project, and the one thing led to another. We got closer and he proposed to me. Bingo! Are you sure he's the one you want to spend the rest of your life with, Adelaide? Yes, very sure. I've never been so convinced. Well, if you say so, I'm happy for you. At least you'll be settled, and that's it. I pray that you grow in faith in this marriage, and especially that I have a lot of children, you mean? Yeah, too. The wedding was celebrated, and in the end, I had my own house, a husband, and there were only children left. I had no desire to work, and fortunately, my husband found no problem there, especially since I already served as a model. After 3 years of marriage, nothing, no baby on the horizon. We had tried everything and had the necessary exams, and everything was fine, but I couldn't conceive. It doesn't matter, you will try again, my dear, and God will give us some in due time. Yes, but when? Now is the time I want kids. I want to be called mommy. I want to feel that joy. I didn't want to wait any longer. I had prayed, fasted, but nothing, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. I went to a spiritualist for the solution. Once there, he gave me a portion for my husband because it seemed he was the problem. I eagerly took it and followed his instructions in introducing it into his meal. I was happy because in the end, things were going to change. The next day, in a good mood, I got up. After serving breakfast, I called Keme, who was hanging around. I went to the bedroom and he was still in his bed. So I tried to wake him up, but nothing. He didn't respond. He didn't even move. My husband was no longer breathing. He was completely cold. I later called the emergency service and they told me some time later that my husband had died. I was devastated. How was that possible? Why? I was very afraid of the evidence, and after the autopsy, he would have died of poisoning. The investigations, of course, went back to me. I was the culprit. I had given him the poison. I went back to see the so-called spiritual master, and he told me that the side effects did not concern him. You're kidding. You killed my husband. He's dead, you hear? What side effects are you talking about? I was lost, and once at home, police officers were already waiting for me. I was arrested and charged with murder. No one wanted to give me the benefit of doubt. After only 2 months in prison, I realized that I was 3 months pregnant. And yes, I was carrying the long-awaited child within me before even committing the irreplaceable. I can't believe that despite all my advice, you dared to see a marabout a day. Patience and only patience is what you need. Now look, God had already answered your prayers. This child would not only have to be born into inconvenient circumstances, but would also have to grow up without his father. Do you think I don't already know that? I am hurt deep in my flesh. I miss my husband. I regret and curse the day I made this decision. I repented but could not forgive myself. I am ashamed of myself. I am a murderer. I know and I can understand, but God already knows whether you believe it or not. His love is always available because it is his nature, and because he is love, he wants you to get up. It's too easy to come back to him. After all this, it's too easy and wants you to erase everything. I have to pay for my mistakes. Trust me, if we were to be punished at the height of our faults, all humanity will be destroyed because we do not deserve His forgiveness. However, we will never be too dirty for Him to pick us up. We will never be too bad for Him to change us. Otherwise, why did Jesus come? He came for us sinners and not for the saints. He gave us the magnificent gift of His life and brought us into grace. It is through Him that our souls are redeemed. So what do you decide? Stay in your pain and in the mud you are in, or let Him wash your sins away? Sorry, God, I'm sorry. I was in tears that I made the biggest decision of my life. In fact, from that moment, I really started to live. May the mercy of God be with you. Shalom.